The Knights of the Cross by Henryk Sienkiewicz. Did you like it? Subscribe and recommend to friends. Chapter 40. The following day at noon, the messengers saw Durand, and soon afterward they rode away, taking with them von Burgau, 2 esquires, and a number of other prisoners. Durand then summoned Father Caleb and dictated a letter to the prince, stating that Danusia had not been carried off by the Knights of the Order, but that he had succeeded in discovering her refuge, and hoped to recover her in a few days. He repeated the same to Zbyszko, who had been wild with astonishment, dread, and perplexity since the night before. The old knight refused to answer any of his questions, telling him instead to wait patiently and not to undertake anything for the liberation of Danusia, because it was unnecessary. Toward evening, he shut himself in again with Father Caleb, whom he had ordered to write down his last will. Then he confessed himself, and after receiving the sacrament, he summoned Zbyszko and the old taciturn Tolima, who used to accompany him in all his expeditions and fights, and in times of peace administered the affairs of Spykow. "Here," he said, turning to the old warrior and raising his voice, as if he was speaking to a man who could not hear well, "is the husband of my daughter whom he married at the prince's court, for which he had my entire consent. Therefore, after my death, he will be the master and owner of the castle, the soil, forests, waters, people, and all the craft in Spykow." Hearing this, Tolima was greatly surprised and began to turn his square head to Durand and to Zbyszko alternately. He said nothing, however, because he scarcely ever did say anything. He only bowed to Zbyszko and lightly embraced his knees. And Durand continued, "This is my will, written by Father Caleb, and below is my seal in wax. You must testify that you have heard this from me, and that I ordered that the young knight should be obeyed here even as I am. Furthermore, what is in the treasury in booty and money you will show him, and you will serve him faithfully in peace as well as in war till death. Did you hear?" Tolima raised his hands to his ears and nodded his head. Then, at a sign from Durand, he bowed and went out. The knight again turned to Zbyszko and said impressively, "There is enough in the treasury to satisfy the greatest greed and to ransom not 1 but 100 captives. Remember." But Zbyszko inquired, "And why are you giving me Spykow already? I give you more than Spykow in the child." "And we know not the hour of death," said Father Caleb. "Yes, unknown," repeated Durand sadly. "A short time ago the snow covered me up, and although God saved me, I have no more my old strength." "Gracious God," exclaimed Zbyszko, "something has changed within you since yesterday, and you prefer to speak of death than of Danusia. Gracious God." "Danusia will return." "She will," replied Durand. "She is under God's protection. But if she returns, listen, take her to Bogdaniec and leave Spykow with Tolima. He is a faithful man, and this is a wild neighborhood. There they cannot capture her with a rope. There she is safer." "Hey!" cried Zbyszko. "And you talk already as if from the other world. What is that?" "Because I went halfway to the other world, and now I seem to be ill. And I also care for my child, because I have only her. And you too, although I know that you love her." Here he interrupted, and drawing a short weapon from its sheath, called the Misericordia, he held the handle towards Zbyszko. "Swear to me now upon this little cross that you will never harm her, and that you will love her constantly." And tears suddenly started in Zbyszko's eyes. In a moment he fell upon his knees, and putting a finger on the hilt, exclaimed, "Upon the Holy Passion, I will never harm, and will love her constantly." "Amen," said Father Caleb. Durand again put the dagger of mercy back into the sheath and extended his arms. "Then you are my child too." They separated then because it was late, and they had had no good rest for several days. However, Zbyszko got up the following morning at daybreak, because the previous day he had been frightened, lest Durand were really falling ill, and he wished to learn how the older knight had spent the night. Before the door to Durand's room he met Tolima, who had just left it. "How is the Lord? Well?" he inquired. The other again bowed, and then, putting his hand to his ear, said, "What orders, your grace?" "I am asking how the Lord is," repeated Zbyszko louder. "The Lord has departed. Where to?" "I do not know. In arms."
Remember to subscribe.